Bueno, ay, ya la voy a admitir. Y pues bueno, igual que siempre, ¿ok? Hi, Lucinda. Can you hear us? Can't hear you. Oh, there. It says, ahí dice que se está conectando. Can you hear us? Your your microphone is in mute. Yeah, there.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, yay. My microphone was being so funny. Zoom made me like authenticate my identity. It was like a whole thing. But anyways,
I know. It
I'm
happens
here.
like in the worst times, right?
Oh, I'm like, and how long have we been on Zoom, right? I'm like, good God. But it's like, I don't know. For some reason, it was like,
I know.
authenticate your identity. So, anyways, I'm
Thank
here
you
and glad to be here.
so much for being here with us. We're super excited. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us. I know you have like a busy schedule with all your books and your new book, which I already read. I'm like obsessed with you right now.
Did you read one and four?
I
Was
read
it
them.
too dark? Was it too dark? Was it
I think the most dark for me is this one. It's like
okay?
it, Lucinda, it fucking destroyed me. It fucking destroyed all of us. I mean, I cried like I have never cried with a book like this before. And I think it's because I have a 16-year-old son. He's a swimmer. So it was like, oh my fucking God, what is this?
Oh my God, your son's actually a swimmer? Oh,
And the same age. So I was like crying the whole time.
well, and here's the thing. So I have a son. So I have a son as well. And he's 16 now. But he wasn't at the
When you
time.
wrote
I
it.
mean, he was a lot younger at the time that I wrote it. And it destroyed me too. Like honestly, like Saving Noah is like hands down the hardest book like I've ever um and I've written a ton, and it's like it still is like it's the only one I had to take breaks from, right? Like I had to actually, and I do think a part of it is because I also am a mom, right? And I'm a boy mom, and so it was like um yeah,
I
so
don't think you could have written it without being a mother. Like, I mean, you can, but you can't like tap into those feelings that being a mother makes you have. So, I mean, it's obvious that you have like a connection with your son, and I'm glad you wrote it when he wasn't 16 because I don't think you would have been able to write it like having him that age. It's
now,
terrible.
no way. No way. I don't think I could have written it in the same way, like living. Yeah, it was like it was good that he was much younger at
Yeah,
the
I
time.
know. And does your son read your books?
It's funny. He for years, um, like basically his whole life was like, you can't read anything on my computer, right? Because even when I worked as a psychologist, anything that I had up on my computer, any report that I was writing was
Or it's confidential?
confidential, was not good material, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so he just sort of grew up with me shutting and not being able to ever look at anything that I had. So as he sort of moved into like being a teenager and like a young adulthood, it's like he's stepped into some stuff. So the book that he did was The Perfect Child.
Yeah.
So that one he has, I mean, but he is funny, he's just like, because I've written lots of stuff about like, things that like, you know,
Complicated stuff.
yeah, that like horrible boys have done, right? And I write like lots of my characters are single moms and I'm a single mom, and so I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm like always, but yeah, so he reads me limited. But one of the things that he does help me with, because he's also very, very creative himself, is ask him, like, does this seem like, and he's also a huge reader.
Incredible.
And so I will give him little excerpts of different stuff and be like, what do you think about this? Like, does this work? You know?
And
So,
does he help you with like the social media stuff? Because
yes.
in the new one, I was like, this has to be like in field research because I mean, it's like stuff that we kind of know. I mean, I kind of know that you can, I don't know, turn off the 360 location, but I don't know how to do it. So, I mean,
So when
everything.
I first got on TikTok, it's so funny. Like, I mean, we do have so many jokes in our house about all of this. So, because he was young, right? And so when he first got his phone, I wouldn't let him get on Instagram, but I let him get on TikTok, right? Which was
I
like
think it's
so dumb,
worse.
right? I should have said Instagram, but I didn't know because I didn't know anything about TikTok, right? I was like, I thought it was like a kid, you know. And it was, I mean, initially, but anyways,
Yeah,
but
it
so that's
transitions a little bit.
right, right. It's grown over the years. So it was like, I was like, you know, you can be on TikTok, no Instagram or whatever. But then um when I first got on TikTok, like all of my initial stuff is like him helping me do. Like I had no idea. I mean, it's you know, I had no idea. And even now I'll do things. I mean, I always say like he's my IT guy, right? I'm like, I will struggle with trying to figure something out and I will bring it to him and I'll be like, hey, how do you do this? And he'll literally take my phone and just be like, and I'm like, I hate you. I hate your generation. You
And
know, I'm like, how?
and
But yeah,
it
so
makes
yes,
you
he
feel
does.
like stupid and old, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I
But I
know it's
honestly, it's like, it's probably the only reason though that I was able to do some of that stuff though, is because I had him to help me, right? You know, it was
I
like,
swear I mean I know we're gonna talk about the other book, but about this new book, I
yes,
swear I thought about and I was like, I mean, I know like that kids can hide their true phone and stuff, but I don't know how they do it. So I felt like her, like, okay, I'm gonna check his phone. I know it's a violation of privacy and I shouldn't, and my husband hates it, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then it's like I don't find anything, and I don't know if it's the truth or they're hiding it. So it's oh my fucking
yeah. And they're
God.
good. I mean, they're so good, right? It's like,
I know. They have a chip that we don't have.
yeah, they've just, yeah, they've grown up in a completely different time than we did. Yeah. So it's like,
And how did you transition from like being a psychologist to writing? Because I mean, your writing is spectacular, Lucinda. I love your books because they're like to the point. What I was telling them when we were discussing your book, it was like, I mean, this book could have been 700 pages long. We would have read it because you could have put, I don't know, the trial and more about the family and more about everything. And it was like to the point always. And I love that about your books because you do that all throughout your books. I love how you're like to the point. You're like, I don't want to talk about everything that's going on. And still you there's like so many subjects to discuss. That's how you are in your life, or that's what psychology taught you, or tell us about you.
yeah. So I mean, yes, all of the above. So it's how I am in my life. Like I'm the worst. I'm not a small talk person, right? I mean, I just like I'm right to the guts always. You know, for whatever it's worth. But a big part of it is, you know, is my psychology background, right? So there's a big piece of that. Um that's in all of it. But I've always, you know, I make it sound like I post funny things. Like I make it sound like I was a psychologist and then I just like took this like dramatic left turn and became a writer, right? Which is actually not how it happened. Like, I've always been a writer
Forever.
since like forever, right? I used to like tell stories and have my mom write them down like before I even knew how to write, you know? And I've always been a reader. Like I was the kid I was the kid, like books were my like literal escape, right? Oprah talks about it too, right? She's like, I got through my traumatic childhood, like
Do that.
by
Yeah.
reading, right? It was like, and I was very similar. I mean, I grew up in a very, very, so like I just read, right? And I always wrote. I mean, I always like journaled my thoughts. I was always writing stories. I wrote my first book like in fourth grade that was like over 100 pages, in this notebook.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was like taught myself how to type on like a typewriter that I got at a garage sale for like 12,
Because
15
we're old and we
down from
know
like
how
$20.
typewriters.
Yes. When you had to actually erase, right? You had to actually erase and then like have the little like
The white
end
stuff
of it that
and,
would
and
the
reverse.
brush that would get it off.
Yes,
Yeah.
of
And
course.
like and I used to be in my bedroom and I used to write newspapers for like the block that we lived on. Um yeah, so I've always had that. But then and through all of my research in graduate school, like so both my master's and my PhD, actually what it looks at is using writing as a way of healing from traumatic
Wow.
events. So I've always in my life tied trauma and writing together, right? Um, but moving into the like author creative world was what happened was that while I was in graduate school, has anybody read Phantom Limb? Has anybody read that one on the Zoom?
That's the one I haven't read.
Okay, well, so Phantom Limb is like the book that is most closely aligned, I would say, with an actual case. So Phantom Limb, I wrote, it was my first thriller that I wrote, and I wrote it during grad school, and it's based on like an actual case that a colleague of mine was treating, right? It was basically like it's these two identical twins, right? They were like horrifically abused, like locked in their cribs, like sold for drugs, for all of these things. And then they were finally like removed from their biological mother and they were put in this foster home and they just thrived, right? It was like they just thrived. Um, but what this is so sad. But then what happened was that one of the twins got bit by a mosquito. So they'd been with this family for about a year, and a colleague of mine was working with the family that was fostering this set of twin girls. Um, and anyways, long story short, they got bit by a mosquito. They ended up with meningitis in
Oh my
their brain,
God.
and they died. And I was like, what would happen to that twin who was left behind, right? Like they escaped this traumatic childhood. It looks like they had the best happily ever after. And then her basically other self dies, right? And so that's how I started writing Phantom Limb. And by the time I was done with the book, I knew because I knew because I read so much and have always read so much. Like I knew I had a good story. Like when I finished Phantom Limb, I was like, this shit is good. I mean, I know that sounds like
No, no, no.
arrogant, but I was like, this is a good story. And like, maybe it's time I actually like did something with everything I write. And part of it was like I felt like I'd finally I'd written something real, like I was like, oh, this is a great story. Like I would read this. I love thrillers. I love being surprised. I love the guts. Like I love anything that's like talk to me from the guts. Like I don't want to hear about the
No.
weather,
And
So it was like, yeah, so then that's really how it started. And then it's just
taken off from there.
taken off since then. But yeah, that's how it started.
I I I haven't read that one, and I've read amazing things because I haven't been able to locate it. I can't find it on Kindle. I don't know why. And I've read all of your other books. As you've seen, I'm like uploading all your reviews. It's like they're paying me to promote you, Lucinda. But really, And this is what I was telling them when we were discussing the books. I love thrillers and I love reading them, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because I've read so many of them that it's very hard for me to be surprised in a thriller. It's like, you know what's going to happen. The interesting part is how you get there and the ups and downs and whatever. But it's like really hard to be surprised or be like, oh my God. And not only Noah, a lot of your books, The Perfect Child, at the end it was like, oh my fucking God. Is the mother the one that's crazy or is it that fucking girl?
Who's
I love
who's
that.
crazy? Right. Who is actually crazy in
Uh-huh.
this?
I
Yeah.
and I love that about your books. And in Noah, it was like super surprising because you come at us like at the beginning, the first 3 pages, with something so in your face that I thought that was it. That was the all of the book, and that was what we were going to discuss. And then at halfway there, you come up with the suicide and the assisted suicide and the mother, and I was like, oh my fucking God, how does she do this in 300 pages? It's a roller coaster, literally. And I love that about your books because, and I'm not just saying it, you can Google Translate my reviews and see that I'm always saying that your books are thrillers that really surprise you, that really come at you like super in your face about things that we sometimes know that exist, but don't want to even like turn because you don't want life to hand you something like that. You liked writing about that because you like reading stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I like, but I also, I have my own, right? So my background is in trauma, right? And so, um, you don't take that path without having your own story yourself, right? And so I get, that's how I ended up in the field that I did is, I've had some darkness in my own life, right? And so there's that. And then it's honestly, it's like the things that made me a good psychologist are the same things that make me a good writer,
Of course.
right? It's like part of being a good psychologist is being able to set aside your own beliefs, your own thoughts, your own ideas, right? And how you view the world, and to be able to step into somebody else's perception, regardless of how you feel about something, so you can understand them, right? Like if I show up in the therapy room and if I haven't been properly trained as a
You
therapist,
bring everything.
all I'm doing when I'm working with you is projecting my own thoughts and my own insights and my own neurosis onto you. So that's just like a caveat. Make sure your therapists are well trained.
I
But so it's
know.
like, because a good therapist, any good therapist knows how to set themselves aside and step into somebody else's perspective in order to help them or heal them or move them along, right? And so I did that as a therapist and I did it pretty well. Like I was a really good therapist. And so it translates into my writing in the sense that I'm really able to step inside people's psyche in a way that makes me a little bit unique and different from, some other writers. And it's also why you find those psychological themes in every single one of my books, it's why it works, it's why it works its way in there too.
But I mean, I can totally see the type of therapist you are by because of what you're saying. Because I mean, we were reading, I mean, specifically about Noah, but we were reading about, forgot her name, fuck. Adrian.
Yes.
Adrian, and she was like, I totally got her point. It was like, I kind of understood her, and then I kind of was like, oh my God, dude, open your eyes, see what's in front of you. And the same with Lucas, because it was like, what an asshole father. And then at the end, you understand, and you understand that you kind of understand that he wants to protect the little girl. So that projects what you're saying, and then what your style of therapy is projecting onto your books, because we can totally understand all of the characters and where you're coming from, and we can understand the psyche of Noah and all the speech he gave to his mother to convince her. I mean, it was like, oh my God, Lucinda, it was very, very rough. Me as a mother, and particularly, I told you that at the beginning, me as like with a child that age, with a teenager that age, and a swimmer, and in all of that like competitive
I can't
work.
imagine. Yeah.
And my other son is called Lucas, also a swimmer. Yeah, so like, oh my God, I need to be friends with her.
Oh my, I don't even know how you got through the book. Oh my God.
Crying like a mad
Wow.
woman. I cried a lot. They were, I mean, I told them all, like, this is the book that has wrecked me like completely. I've never, never, never cried with a book so much. And they were like, at the end, some were like, yeah, I cried too. Yeah, I didn't. But they were like, what the fuck? Why did you cry? I never cried with books. So it really got to me. And I was like, what would I do? It's like, I think it's like the ultimate, I don't know, like the ultimate thing about unconditional love and what a mother is capable of doing for her
Yeah.
child.
Well, and that's what it really is like at the crux of it,
Yeah.
right? Because it's that saving Noah also like it that also comes from my work with families and children, right? And it's like the thing that was like that would always strike me is like we always think that like kids that do fucked up things have super fucked up parents, right? And like most of the time that is the case, right? I would the majority of the time is like yes,
But not
kids that do
always.
like kids that do horrific things oftentimes yes, but there's a significant percentage of time where kids do horrible things and they have very good, kind, loving parents. And like they're absolutely right. Right. And I mean, obviously, like no parent is perfect, but like that was the thing. And one of the things that like Saving Noah was born out of that struck me over and over again in my work with children and families was not the parent, like, was not the families where there was like this, generation upon generation of like mental illness and trauma and abuse and all of that. Right. But it was like the families where it was, um, they really did a like I hate to, but like good parents whose children did something awful, right? And those parents were wrecked. And it's like, what would you actually do, right? Like, what would you actually do if your kid that you birthed, right? And like, like it's very loosely based on an actual like case and experience of a mother similar to Noah. And I will never, whose kid had done something very, not, but he'd molested other children. And one of the things that she just kept saying over and over and over again in our session was that I breastfed him, right? But I breastfed him, right? It was like she could not wrap her brain around, like, I nursed this baby, right? Like, I nursed this baby and he did this like monstrous thing. Like, what in God's name do I do? Right. And so, yeah. So there's all of that through it, right? Because like what would you actually do, right? And you also, the other thing about, is like, again, it comes from my psychologist background, but it's like I like to put my characters in impossible situations, right? Where they have to make impossible
You
choices.
do in all of them. Oh my
That's
God.
like if there's any description, it's like, and it's like an impossible, what do you do, right? What do you do in that, no choice is good, right? Like no option is good. Like what's your best bad choice?
And
Basically, so
it's basically that, because it was like, I mean, for me, the book, besides all of the other things that it's incredible to discuss and to like have more knowledge about and everything, for me, it was like the guilt we feel as mothers, like all across the board. Adrian felt it with the little girl because she wasn't with her, and with this one, I mean, we feel guilt like forever, and that's like a major subject for me in the book.
Yes.
And the other is like that unconditional love, that even though, and there are exceptions obviously, but I kept like going, like putting myself in Adrian's place, and I was like, I think that my husband would behave totally as Lucas, like, you committed a fucking crime and you're going to jail, and I don't care what happens to you. And that made me like really angry, because I think I would be Adrian. At the beginning, I would be like in total denial. And there's a phrase that she says like, oh, let me see. I didn't view what he'd done as a crime. And I was like, what the fuck, dude? Of course. I mean, and but you understand that denial she's in, because what you're saying, like,
Yeah.
I
Well,
he
and the
came
part
from
where she's like, it's like, because I get, you'll see if you like, I get Saving Noah is also the book that I get the most hate for as well, too, right? So it's
can
like I have,
imagine.
it's like because people are like, she's a pedophile sympathizer, like all of these things, and it's like you don't know, like actually no, um, that's not, that's not
What it is
what it
about.
is at all. You know what I mean? It's like, no, that's actually not what it is about. It's exactly what you're saying. You know what I mean? It's exactly, it's all of those dynamics,
It's
it's like, yeah.
it's
And
it's too
you
much
know,
for, like, I mean, what I told you at the beginning, it's like you presented a super complicated and controversial subject at the beginning, and then there was another one that's, I think, worse. And then at the end, like the father. So it's like, is this genetic?
do you know that there's people though that read that, like I've done, so I do talks and Zooms and all the time. And I actually do more talks on Saving Noah than anything else, which I think is fascinating, right? It really is like the book, because there's so much to talk about in it, right? Of all of the stuff that's there, but like, where was I going with that? I forgot. I just totally lost my train of
Maybe
thought.
something about like pedophile and genetics,
Oh,
pedophilia
yeah, 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 yeah. But so there were people that didn't actually make the connection
connection because
that
of
missed the
Lucas.
twist that him was the dad, and I didn't realize that, until I started doing talks and stuff, that like there were people that like didn't catch that,
But
that
did
there
you
was
mean,
that piece, But see, that's the other part too in it that is really hard for people to see or acknowledge, is that oftentimes in kids and people like Noah, they really do actually know that they are sick. You know what I mean? Like there is an acknowledged, like they're aware of like, this is not okay, Um, so
but did you, like, I mean, talking about that part that you're saying that they didn't realize it was Lucas? I mean, I imagine they realized at the end, right? Or never at all?
no, there were actually people, and I was no, there were actually people that didn't even at that were still confused at the end and didn't realize that him
Wow.
had been Lucas the entire time. The
Okay,
other
but
thing that's fascinating about it though is there were people that actually guessed the twist, but it was all that Lucas was him throughout, but it was all people that have a mental health background and that
wow.
work in sex offender treatment, because the way that he's treated, like the treatment approaches in
Like
the
in the 80s.
right, it's like we don't, it's like that's like we don't do those things now, right? Like we don't do, like we would never
Like
like you would
electroshock
never be able
therapy.
to shock a child, right? Like you would, like, oh my god, you'd lose your license if you shocked a child now, but back in the day they did. I mean, back in the day they did horrific things. So it's like, though, it was funny because those were the ones that like that actually did figure it out. They were like, that had actually worked in sex offender treatment. Because
Yeah, because they know.
then they
But
knew. Then they knew. Yeah.
let me tell you something. It's not what they, I mean, the people that didn't get the him, it's not a reflection on your writing, because at the end it's like super fucking obvious. You totally get that it is. I had to go back. I had like an inkling of something when I read about the electroshock therapy, but not enough to like investigate. I was like, wow, they still do this. And I was like, okay, maybe they do because it's like something super, like super heavy and they do want to eradicate pedophilia. So I thought
Right.
maybe, but not enough to go investigate.
Well,
Just
it's actually
that I
really
know.
interesting. Like once you know, it is a different than book to go back. Like if you read it again, once you actually know that it's Lucas, it's like it's a very different story. It's
When
a
I
very
read it
different
again,
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
you read it totally different. When I read it for the
Yeah.
second time for the sessions and the questions and everything, I was like, oh my God,
Right.
this is a totally different book. And you see it like
And it's
super.
wild. It's there all along. Saving Noah is one of my proudest books. I gotta say, because it's like there's so many different things
I'm so
that
glad
are
it's your.
there.
It's one of my favorite books in the world ever, Lucinda. And I'm like you, like the crazy kid that only wanted to read and got books for Christmas and stuff. I was that girl too. So this is like a super fan moment for me to be talking to you. It's like super, super exciting for me because I've recommended the book with the caveat that it's like this is a super strong book. It's not for everyone. Not everyone can read it because I think this is a book that's not for everyone, and not everyone is equipped like to deal with the feelings because it's not like you read a book and you kind of cry and you're sad. This is a book that like moves stuff inside that you have, I mean, a lot of feelings that you have to work through when you finish reading the book. And it's like another nod to your psychology background because it's not, it's a very different book. Loved it. And they were telling me, like, you can't say you love this book. It's about a pedophile and a suicide.
Right. I mean, it does feel right. Yeah. I mean, it's like, right. It does feel weird to say it, but
Yeah.
yes.
And they're like, you're as crazy as them. But I really do. It's really one of my favorite books. I hope to catch you in some of your talks on live one day.
Yeah. Yeah. I randomly pop on and off.
I wish. Um, Lucinda, can we take a small break to take the picture because then everyone
Yes.
is going to
Yes.
start
Yes.
with
Yes.
dinner and
Let's do the
stuff?
picture. Yes.
Oigan, la va a tomar. Jane is going to take the picture.
Okay.
Looks out, please. And if you have like the Saving Noah background, remember to put your book in front because it does. Ceci,
Bueno,
ándale, muévelo. Yeah,
ahí va,
in
chicas.
front of you.
Erika, si puedes poner tu libro así enfrente porque desaparece. Bueno, ahí va, chicas. Una, dos, tres, cheese. Y la otra pantalla, denme un segundo. Vamos. Una, dos. Listísimo. Perfectas.
Gracias, Jane.
Thank
Thank
Are
you,
you.
my eyes
Lucinda.
open? I'm the queen of like shutting my eyes.
I took several pictures, so
Did you?
I'm
Okay, good. Okay, good. I'm like
I'm
the
filming
queen
one of
of
them.
like,
It's gonna
I'm
be
like,
good.
I have so many. I'm like, I'm the queen of eyes closed.
No, one of them it's gonna be okay. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
She'll edit
Good,
them. She's an
good,
expert.
good. Good.
Okay, so let me see what other questions I have here. Do you think that we should love our children in spite of everything? Is there a sí, Carmen, ahorita yo voy. In spite of, I mean, I was like, I think I could probably forgive I don't want them to hear. But I think I would like be able to get over, I mean, as best as you can get over something like it, but get over like if they, I don't know, hit someone with their car drunk, I could get over that. If they got in a fight and something happened and the other one fell down, I think I could get over something like super strong as that. But this is like, I don't know, I'm like a feminist at heart, and I'm like, I would take him to the police. I would do what she did, like in differently, because I would go maybe through a lawyer. But do we tell me what you think
I
about
mean,
this?
it's so hard. Like, right? It's so hard. Like, I don't know. I honestly don't know what I would do either, right? I mean, I really don't. Like at the end of the day, like if my son came to me, but if it was this, I mean, I would have to like I wouldn't be able to keep it a secret, right? Like I wouldn't. I would have to yeah, I mean, I'd have to do something. Um I think that like what she did for him in the end, right? I'm like, could I do that, right? Like, could I do that for him? Um, I think maybe I
I know.
could.
I
I
get
mean, I
your
think
point.
especially because I don't know. I mean, it's like if you knew that that was, you know, how they were going to live their life, A, that they were completely tortured, and then B, that they had the potential to hurt other people.
That.
Um, I might help him do it, you know?
No, it's
I know
it's
it's being risky,
horrible
but, you
to
know,
even
so it's
think
like
it.
but yeah, it's like it's such you know, but again, just because A, I've been through a lot of hard things in my life, and you actually never know how you'll respond till you're going through them. And then B, I've been around a lot of other people that have experienced really, really hard things, you know, and it's like you don't know how you would respond, you know? So it's like at the end of the day, I don't, you know, it's like, what would I really do? Right. It's like I can say I would, you know, but would I actually be able to like help my son end his life? You know, it's like,
But it's like
you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
it,
I don't know. I don't
and
know.
that's the
Yeah.
dilemma you put us in, and I get goosebumps even thinking about it. But when I heard like his when I read his speech that he's like, I can't, like he's super regretful. He doesn't want to live like that. He doesn't want to hurt people, and he knows he's going to. I don't know. It touched
Right?
something
It's
in
like,
me.
what would you do? Well, I mean, would you help? You know, it's like,
I think it's like
I
the
probably
ultimate.
would. I mean, at the end of the day, I probably would. I
And it's
probably would.
horrible to like even think
Right.
it, but me too. I think I would too. But then I read, I mean, I closed this one and I started reading a couple of weeks ago, one of our own. And when I compared like the two characters, and we'll put it later in the book club so the other ones can understand what we're talking about. But
Right.
when you compare like the two kids that are more or less the same age, you can see the regret in Noah. I mean, like looking back on the book, you can see that he really is like a good kid. He doesn't want to live like that. He doesn't want to hurt people. So you compare it and it's like, oh my God, there are.
That's a really good comparison though. Like, and I like it is. It's like one of our own is like completely different in Saving Noah in the sense that like that's the sociopathic trait, right? That's in one of our own. I'm spacing that kid's name right now. What's the kid's name in one of our own?
That's what I said. The boy. I
I'm
don't
totally
remember.
spacing it too, and I wrote it. I'm like, what is his name in one of our own? Oh my God.
I have.
Um,
Let me see. I'm gonna look for it here because I just
oh my
noted
God,
it.
it's driving me crazy.
Wait.
But he's very much like the sociopath, right? He's, you know, and that's not who Noah is, right? And that's what makes him different, right? That's what sort of like sets him apart. But yeah, they're really like very opposite like case studies in the same psychopathology, you know?
And the same age, so it's like,
Yes.
oh my God. And okay, another rabbit hole that we fell in because of your book is about I'll Google this as soon as you start giving your answer so you can rest easy to know the name of your character. But I just want to know is because was a rabbit hole that we fell into um about like, is it true that kids as young as 15 can like say, I like young girls? It's not like, yes.
Yes. Yes. And I mean, as like much as I wish the answer to that question was no, the answer is yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a big, Yeah. And especially if they are, especially if their kids, like in the case of one of our own, if they have that, like the big difference is the psychopathy trait. I mean, it really is. Like if you have that psychopathy trait, that sort of like changes everything, right? But yeah, because um there's, I mean, there's a lot of research that we have now that just shows that it's really there. And
And
there's markers that are there throughout their whole like development.
and is that something, I don't want to say cured because I know from what we read that it's not like cured, but can it be treated? Like
Yeah. So here's the thing. So funny enough, when I was in graduate school, in my adult psychopathology class, I can't remember what big case was in the media, but it was like some pedophile case, and I'm very loud and very vocal, like all these things. And so I sort of went off about like, there's no treatment for pedophiles, like we should send them all to an island and like let them all just hurt each other and all of these things, right? And my professor at the time, who's like an expert in like psychopathology, adult psychopathology, he was like, "Are you sure about that?" You know? And I was like, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Why don't you, for your, make that, why don't you like make that your paper and like look into the research in that
wow.
or whatever, right? And see if that's actually true." And here's so when it comes to sexual offenders, um, and again, there's a spectrum of sexual offenders, right? Of different categories and classifications. But for the whole, like, there are actually successful treatments that can keep them from reoffending.
But
Right? So
reoffending,
there's
like,
lots of therapy approaches that we have that we can, keep them from abusing
okay,
somebody else, right? The actual thoughts or desires to do so, though, oftentimes do not go away.
that
But
was my
we
question.
can treat, we can teach. And again, the psychopathy part is really the difference. Like if you, like people with psychopathy just do not have the ability to like feel for other people. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you teach them. They are never going to be able to have any connection with hurting another person. They just don't care, right? But everybody else, including people that do horrible things to kids, there are treatments that if they genuinely want to get better, can learn how not to reoffend. It, but it doesn't mean that they
The thoughts
won't,
disappear.
that the thoughts disappear or their abnormal desires disappear. But you can teach them to go on and not hurt another child or human being. That part is possible.
Wow.
So
We kind of read about that, but then it gave like a foot to another debate, but it was like, can you live a happy, successful, fulfilled life if you're like denying the sexual part of you that is like a fundamental part of being human, right? I mean, I can
well, and
understand that.
somebody just asked in the chat or whatever, they were like, can it be like the one day at a time in AA? And that really is a very similar approach, right? I mean, it is like, you know, not choosing different choices one day at a time. Yeah, I mean, and it is possible. It is possible.
Wow, it's super interesting. How did
Right?
your paper turn out?
I mean, my paper turned out I was totally wrong. I was like, because I mean, I was convinced. I was like,
But
I
did
was
you
one of those people that was like, there's no forgiveness for people that hurt children. There's no like, um, there's no way to treat them. Like, let's just get rid of them, let them hurt each other. That's the only way to protect society, like all of this. And it's like, and so I did. I learned, And again, that's like what I was saying earlier about this. It's like so much of psychology is actually like learning where you're wrong and learning where your perceptions are wrong and like learning how to like think outside of your own culture, your own context, your own all of that, you know? So yeah, I was like, my paper turned out, I was like, I was wrong.
But
There
that's
are successful treatments based on, you know, so but
but
he
that's
knew that,
incredible.
right? It was like a great teaching moment for my professor.
Yeah.
It was like,
And it was for like all of the people who read your books, Lucinda, because every time it's about a child, we automatically get like protective as a species. Even like the worst people get protective of children. I mean, you put several
absolutely.
examples in your book that okay, you can maybe touch another little girl, but not your sister, or you can't touch your sister. So, I mean, everyone tends to want to protect children, obviously. And to read about this and to know that there are other ways of thinking, not that it's correct and not that it's ever going to be correct, but that they are people too, because you tend to see them as like predators. And when you see a 15-year-old kid that's like the wonder kid, and you see it totally blows your perspective and your
Right.
mind to see
They
that
genuinely like so desperately like that's, you know, when I get the sort of hate of like
you
that I get,
humanize him.
it's like there's nobody that wants to die more than Noah himself. You know, like he's in agreement with you that like all, you know, there's that is like, you know, he's in agreement with you of like people like me should be not here, you know? Um
But
yeah,
I think that the hate you get is because you humanize him. You
yeah.
empathize with, you like want to hold him and you want to embark on this journey with him and you want to make him feel better. And at the same time, you're like, okay, but who's going to make the little girls feel better? So it's a constant like
Mm,
struggle because you do empathize with them and you do empathize with Adrian and you empathize with Lucas and you empathize with all of the people that are there.
yeah.
And I just thought of another subject that we super discussed. And then, if it's okay with you, I'll open the floor for a few questions. And then
Yes,
we'll.
yes, yes, yes. And I want to be, I actually, I have to jump off at 7 because I have to get to a basketball game for my teenager.
Perfect. Levanten las manos y nada más le voy a decir una última cosa si quieren hablar. The other thing that we talked about that it was like super strong in this book is that how everyone left her. She was alone, no friends. I mean, that's fucking horrific that you can't talk to your husband, you can't talk to any of your friends, nobody likes you. I mean, how sad that we are there as human beings.
Well, can I tell you, one of the things that also happens from this book is the amount of mothers that reach out to me that have sons like Noah, you know, that are, you know, that thank me, that are, you know, that want to talk. Like, I wish I could, you know, like, um,
Help
you
them,
know,
be with
yeah,
them.
I really do. I'm like, I wish I was still like doing their, you know, but they do, they really thank me for like, you have told our story. You know, the thing that's the most common is actually, um, one sibling hurting another sibling. Like that was the thing that I saw the most was it's one sibling that
Yeah.
is inappropriate with the other, you know, and the parents that are so wrecked. I mean, what do you do? But like, what in God's name do you do with that? You know? So
I'm
yeah.
glad that it's like a beacon of hope for her.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, it is. It's like even though it's a fictional story, it's like I get so many moms that are like,
I'm
thank
glad because
you.
they
Like
need
I
to
felt
know.
like you know, they're like, I've never felt seen, and I actually felt seen, you know, and then they just share their stories, you know, because it's like
No,
that's
so
how you work
and
through stuff is
there's
you share your stories.
there's a phrase that you say there, something about being seen. Um, for the first time since he confessed, I finally saw him and understood. And I guess a lot of people in this situation feel seen and heard with your book. I'm gonna
Yeah.
shut up now so they can ask you can answer the three questions that there are, and then you can run off to your basketball game. Carm,
Hi, Lucinda. I love your book. Actually, I was going to talk about what Nora just said. I was super stressed of her being alone. Like I couldn't really, like for me, it was the easiest character to relate with was the mother, of course, right? So I was like, if I have a lot of friends. Would I be alone if I was living something like that? Because like I said, we discussed a lot. If some of us said I would like keep loving Noah and be with him, and I don't care if I have to leave to another house without my husband. And some of them said no. I was never doubtful of that. There was a phrase on the book, a quote that said, being in reality or loving him doesn't mean that I'm not seeing the reality or living it. I was on that position the whole time. And then for me, what made me guess that the father had the same problem was you using him. I said, if it was Noah, she would write Noah. So it's somebody else. And then, so I went back like the second time and I said, no, it's him. And these things that they do, they're from the past. So it's the father. So from the beginning, I was also understanding of the father because I said he knows that he can hurt the little sister because he knows what it feels. But being alone, letting her alone, like no friends, not even her mother, nobody. That I don't know.
Everybody got, which is
friends,
actually a very common experience. So it's like in those situations where there is anything where it's like the mother or the, like one of the siblings hurts the other, like it is very common that then like if the mother chooses to like support in any way, like they really often, it is very isolating.
Yes, I think
they do tend to lose. Yeah, again, it's like it's an impossible choice, right?
It's impossible to live through that on your own, like a mother. So I hear they won't let me lie. I even said, please just become the person that stands with your friend if she's living something like that. And I called my friends and I wrote them and I said, please, if some time I live something like that, don't leave me alone, please. I can't. So I love your book. I cried a lot. It made me, I was like you, like before reading your book, I just said they should all go to live to an island and just have no forgiveness.
Hurt themselves, right? Like hurt each other.
And I went from A to Z. Now it's okay. Maybe each case is different. And so, you changed my mind. You made me cry. You made me call my friends. Great book. I loved it.
Right. Well, and I also think one of the things is like if we as a society like made it where like if people were okay in telling on themselves before they acted, could we actually stop kids from being hurt, right?
But it's so
it could be like at the end of the day, it's like, but it's like, right. But then it's like, cause they know the moment they say that they're going to be ostracized, but it's like, yeah. So it's like, it's back to that. It's so hard, right? It's so.
And it won't stop being a taboo because like Nora said, when you're talking about hurting kids, there's no even the space to talk about.
Right.
You don't talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for reading. And yeah.
We have 2 more quick questions. Is it okay?
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to be very quick.
Yes.
I just want to ask about you as a writer, since you're touching very touchy subjects, how does this impact like your personal life? I mean, there are controversial books. I already read 2 more of your books after this one, and I love them.
Super fans now, Lucinda.
Yeah, I read your bio.
What's funny, people either love me or it's like I'm very polarizing. It's
no,
like if you love me, you love me. If you hate me, you hate me. And there's not like a bio in between.
Yeah, I read your bio at the end, and I was like, "This is my jam." I'm reading all of her books. Like this is my thing. And let me tell you that I first read Saving Noah, and I have a 15-year-old on the swim team. Who I just got, I have a 6-year-old, and some of the mothers wanted my son to give them their kids classes in the summer. And I read this book, and I like, I don't think it's going to be a good idea. So it really hit me. So my question is like, you have these characters, maybe they resonate with some of your inner circle or your outer circle or school moms or whatever. How does that touching those kind of subjects impact like your personal life? Do you like can compartmentalize it, or does it affect you?
I mean, I do. I mean, because of the stuff that I write, and also because of the fact that I've just been in psychology for a long time, I have to work very hard. Like, I do a lot. Like, one of the reasons that I run isn't because I'm like super like, oh, I want to be so fit and all of that. It's just one of the ways that I take care of myself and process stuff and release it, you know? So I do all of that. I mean, it is weird. I mean, it's always weird to like, you know, with my son, right? And at school and stuff. And like when people find out like the stuff that I do write, you know, it's a little, you know, it always, you know, it always has that piece. But I'll say I do work really, really hard at like taking care of myself, you know, but that comes from my year. Like I already had that from like my years of like triaging school shootings, you know. I mean, it's just like you know, so I know how to do that. I know how to like protect myself and take care of myself like in the middle of all of the
Chaos.
dark trauma, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
Okay,
can take
thank you
one
very
more
much.
and then I have to pop off.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Gracias,
Thank-
Nelly. Ale.
Yes. Thank you
Corre.
so much for coming. I have loved this.
Hi, Lucinda. I'll try to go straight to the point. I love Noah's character because I learned so much from him. And he's in the most of the book, he's a 17-year-old. And I wanted to know, in your professional experience as a trauma psychologist, is his character really a reflection of how boys at 17, 15, 17, because they have several years left of brain development, and Noah is really impressive how he is conscious of his condition. He comes to terms with his condition and then makes a life-changing decision of ending his life. So for me, I learned so much from him, and I just wanted to know like how this reflects from your professional experience. Like, are boys
They're
boys
not
that age?
normally that insightful.
Yeah. Okay.
They're not normally, no. Like Noah is very, very insightful, and Noah's very, very insightful to be able to to address all the things in the book. Most 17-year-olds are not that conscious, do not have that level of understanding that he has. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah,
40-year-olds
I
don't.
mean, most are, yeah, he's very advanced in his thinking
ahead of, yeah.
is like knowing what's happening with him, you know, in a way that sort of has to be for the book, you know. But yeah, that's a really, really good insight on it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. In reality, no, most 17-year-olds, especially 17-year-olds in his case, would not. Now, they do have the thing of like, I know something's wrong with me. Like that part is very like, something is wrong with me, you know. But his level of thinking, no.
Yeah, that
So.
self-awareness, most 40-year-olds don't have it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Lucinda, it's 7. Run to your
Yes.
game. Thank you so much. It was like the best thing ever. Thank you for your time, for your books.
Thank you
everything.
for having me. I will come back again.
Yes.
Like honestly, like I do. I love meeting and talking to my readers. Like that is like so genuine. So I would love to come back and have another discussion.
I'm going to put one of our own and then we can discuss the differences between Josh. Danny looked it up.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Perfect. We will. We'll discuss the differences.
Yeah. Ron,
all right.
thank you so much.
Everybody. Thank you so much for coming, and I will talk soon. All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.